Okay, we have head coach Nick Saban will give a second to get set up. And we'll go straight to questions. Right here, coach. To your left.
Hey, Coach Jane Hill from ABC 3340 here in Birmingham. You're the leader of this program, so we've got to know, how's your hip? Are you 100% right now?
I don't want to admit to being 100%, then that would affect how many shots I get over the next 3 or 4 days, which is the end of golf season. I actually have to produce a doctor's excuse not to hit out of the sand trap, the guys that I play against, and I've really been trying to make a good game on the first tee, so I don't want to say that I'm really 100%, but I really am.
Front row, please.
Hey Nick, David Cloninger with the Charleston Post and Courier. You get South Carolina back on the schedule for the first time in 9 years this season. What do you remember from that 2010 game? Is there one player or moment that stands out above the rest?
Well, I remember a lot. We got the lineman kicked out of our britches, in the game over there. And, we'd won, I think, 19 games in a row going into that game. And they really took advantage of and played a great game against us and took advantage of a lot of situations and exposed us in a lot of different ways. And we have a lot of respect for Will and what he's done in South Carolina, the team they have. And that's always a challenging place to play, and that's going to be a difficult game for us, and our players need to be ready to go.
Coach to your left in the second.
Clint Schweitzer, Great American Sports Network in Kansas City. Coach, you're in your 13th year here in Alabama, 18th in the SEC. The slogan for this league is "It just means more." You've been around a long time in this league. What does it mean to you?
The slogan is "It just means more," or I didn't get that.
Yeah, the slogan means more. What being in this league for 18 years, slogan is "It just means more." What does this mean to you, coaching in this league?
Well, I'm just glad to be here. This is a great league. The competition, the competitive venues, the fan interest, the passion that so many people have in so many programs. I've coached in several different leagues, including the NFL, the Big Ten, and I just think the interest and the passion here makes it special to be, a part of this. And then we have a lot of good football players, a lot of good football coaches, a lot of good programs in this league that make it very, very challenging each and every year. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. And it's been a wonderful experience, and hopefully the players that have been a part of our program have a better chance to be successful in life because of it, and their experiences as competitors are going to help them, have a better chance to be successful.
Coach to your right on the second.
Hey Coach, Rachel Barbeau, Sirius XM. How you doing this morning? I'm right here. 2 questions for you. The first one is, having covered you for many years, I know that you were very motivated by a loss and a win. I'm curious, after the national championship game, did you change any of your process, anything that you do, anything with practice, any way that you coach? Because you've been known to burn the midnight oil in your career and be willing to pivot when you see something that needs to be changed.
Well, I think that we're constantly evolving as a program. We're constantly making little changes and things to, try to help us get better, whether it's overall program, offense, defense, special teams, any part of the program, personal development, academic support, whatever it is. We're always looking for a better way. But I think that we didn't do the things that we feel are very important to the program very well toward the end of the season last year. I don't think we played with the kind of discipline that we want to play with as an organization and as a team. I don't think we didn't have a culture of accountability, with our team at the end of the season. I think putting the team first is always really, really important, and these are the kind of things that I think we need to improve on if we're going to be able to improve as a team and continue to develop and have success. And I think, you have to be able to live with success. You have to understand that success is not a continuum, it's momentary, and if you don't continue to do the same things that you've always done, you're not going to be successful. And I think sometimes players get complacent, take for granted that just because we played well in the past, we're going to continue to play well in the future, and then you create bad habits and the way you prepare, and then you get exposed by somebody that you played that is really, really good. So I don't think it was what we were doing so much as how were we doing it? How did we execute? What did we do? And, you know, that's something that we need to improve on, but we're also constantly trying to evolve as an organization.
Coach, last question. Jimbo Fisher earlier this week talked about the biggest thing he took from you was your awareness in terms of mental health of your players. That's huge, Coach. And I heard you earlier this year talk to high school coaches and talk about that, about caring about your players, about really looking at them and seeing how you can serve them. Is that part of your legacy, how you want to be remembered in the SEC and in coaching?
Well, I think, you know, what I'd like to, you know, I've been around been in two programs where they had icon coaches. You know, Woody Hayes at Ohio State and Coach Bryant at Alabama. And the one thing that makes those guys what they were and what they are is the number of players that have come up to me through the years in both those programs and tell me how much their coach impacted their life in terms of the lessons that they learned as competitors or the values that were instilled in them while they were in the program, the relationships that were developed. So that's really the number one thing that I'd like to be my legacy someday, is that there's a whole bunch of players out there that feel like something that we did helped them have a better chance to be successful in life. On the mental health issue side of it, you know, I've always been one of these people who are really, really interested in human behavior and the psychological disposition it takes to be a good competitor. So we've always had people involved in the mental health of our players for the last 25 years, all the years that I've been a head coach. And these people are experts in human behavior. They've helped players and they've helped us to be able to help players by understanding issues and problems, how we should coach those guys, how they need to be supported so they have a better chance to be successful. I think this is something that people are becoming more aware of now. I hear in the NFL they're going to have somebody like that in every organization now. We've been doing that for a long time, and it's been very effective, I think, and helpful to the players.
Coach, right here in the middle.
Jason Martin, 730 The Ump in Huntsville. I have to ask, how many times have you studied the tape from the national championship game this offseason, and how long did it take to get over?
I don't know that you ever get over things like that. I think that we obviously looked at the game several times and tried to analyze the things that didn't go well, but it's not that difficult to figure out. And watching it over and over and over doesn't give you any additional insight. You know, it usually comes down to how did you execute, how did you block and tackle, how did you execute and do the things that you were supposed to do relative to how you practiced. And we didn't practice very well for the game. It was a difficult trip for our team. Same circumstance for them. They handled it a lot better than we did. We didn't execute very well in the game. So I don't know that you ever get over those things. I think more about the games that we've lost, whether they're SEC championship games that we lost, playoff games that we've lost, games that we lost in the national championship game, things that we could have done differently that might have changed the outcome, things that we could do differently to change the program so we have a better chance to be successful in the future. But I don't think it takes long to figure it out. I don't think it takes long to watch the tape and see what you did wrong. And, you know, some of it is, you know, personnel issues. Some of it is execution issues. So, you know, but we're looking forward and trying to take the lessons that we learned from that game, implement those as lessons for our players in the future so that they have a better chance to be successful. And that's always the challenge. You know, it's a new season. How we're going to respond, what kind of leadership we're going to have, how we're going to reinforce those things that we're talking about to make it impactful for how we improve this year.
Coach, to your right, front row.
Hey Nick, that's from the Southern Pigskin. Similar to what Rachel was saying on the mental side of things, are there any measures you guys take to help players deal with more the mental side of injuries, like Tua last year, where you're cleared to play, but you're going to be in some pain for the rest of the year, probably not going to get better until after the season? Are there any measures you guys take to help those guys deal with the normal aches and pains and fighting through those that come with just a long football season and the grind of that?
Yeah, I think that, when we have players that, struggle with injuries, and every player, responds differently. Some players can play with, their arm hanging off, and other players can't play very well if they have a hangnail. And I think that it comes down to, their psychological disposition. And I think that we've always employed psychiatrists, sports psychologists, to try to help players deal with those issues. I mean, no different than dealing with the death in your family, dealing with an issue that you might have with your children. I mean, all these things are things that being supportive and helping people. The one thing that I've learned is, when players get injured, or anybody gets injured, including myself coming back from this hip, is, you always anticipate that it might hurt again. And even though it's not, you're afraid to go full speed. You're afraid to step out because you're afraid you're going to hurt yourself again. And this is probably the thing that is the most difficult for players to overcome, that you are okay. And, just like, Doc told me with my hip, he said, look, you're okay now. You can do whatever you want. And it's going to hurt. It's like having a new ball glove. It's stiff. It needs broken in. So the more you do, the better you're going to be. I was still apprehensive to do some things, but I think that's normal. And I think as you do more things, you develop more confidence. But, having people who are there to support you and help you understand those things can be very helpful.
Last two questions over your coach.
Hey Coach, Rocket Designer, WHMT News 19 out of Huntsville. Ryan Ray, what have you seen from him this offseason on the football field, and what are some expectations you have from him for this upcoming season?
Ryan Ray has been a very good player for us. He was very productive for us last year. We look at him even last year as a starter. He rotated in and played probably just as much as any of the defensive ends. He's an athletic guy. He's got a great motor. He's gotten bigger and stronger. He's more physical now. We think he can be a really, really good player for us. And, he's had some, foot and ankle things that have bothered him a little bit in the offseason, but, we expect him to be 100% full go when we get started in August. And I think he's a player that we definitely want to count on to be a good leader on our team, and someone who can contribute, and be very productive.
Last question, gentlemen, right here in the second row, white shirt. Yes.
Okay. Rick Henry, WSTV, Columbia, South Carolina. Coach, what were the qualities or the reasons that you hired Will Muschamp the first time, and did you know early on that he could possibly one day become a head coach?
Well, I love Will. I think Will it's been a long time ago at Valdosta State or one of those schools, down there, and I'd only been coaching for a couple of years. And I remember we were practicing in Atlanta for a game. I think it was a bowl game, maybe the Peach Bowl when I was at LSU, and our first year there, and he came up and watched practice, and got to know him and talk to him, and really, really liked him. So I think soon after that we had an opening, and somebody recommended Will that knew him, and because I had a good feeling about a little meeting that we had in Atlanta, and brought him over, we interviewed him, and he's an extremely hard worker, very knowledgeable guy, great leadership, players respond to him well, he's got toughness about him, which I think is important to instill, especially on defense, with your players, and did an outstanding job. And I can't remember exactly, but whether it was a year or two, he was the coordinator. And went on to Miami with us. And so I didn't ever have any doubt that Will would be extremely successful as a coach. And he did as good a job for us and our program and what we asked him to do and the way he did it in every way. How he represented the program, how he coached the players, how he developed players, how he recruited players, as anyone we've ever had.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.